Okay, well, I think we're going to go ahead and get it rolling, guys.
Let's do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. We're Kate and Kelsey, co-founders of Psyche Digital. Psyche Digital is an embedded marketing firm. We work inside growth stage organizations as their marketing team or marketing wing, if you will. So this topic that we're hitting today, build, hire, or embed, is not theoretical for us. We live it every day. And prior to opening our doors in 2021, Kate and I also worked for a traditional agency as well as took on freelance work. So we also have been in many of the seats that we're going to be talking about in terms of marketing support. Before we get into it, I just wanted to do some quick housekeeping. We're going to be together for 60 minutes. We're going to present for about 40. We'll have 10 to 12 minutes for Q&A at the end. But that being said, we want this to feel like a real conversation. So if while we're addressing something, you would like to chime in or ask a question, please feel free to do so. We find that that adds a lot of life to these webinars and also a lot of value for the folks in the room. And we want to be clear also, this is not a pitch for Psyche Digital. We have a specific model that we follow, but it does not mean that the other models are not incredible for the right scenarios. The goal here is to kind of talk through how you might diagnose what the right choice is for you and your organization at different stages, and be able to plan for the greatest success and give yourself the best chance of crushing it. So wanted to start with a quick poll of what you are using right now, if you're a business owner or in a business and you know what the business is using. So we've got A through E, doing it myself, founder-led, using a freelancer or contractor, working with a agency, like maybe a larger agency, having an in-house team or specialist, like a person in the seat, or working with an embedded partner. So if you want to chime in, either go off mute or drop it in the chat, share so we get a sense of what we've got going on in the room. Awesome. So we've got founder-led, we've got someone working with an agency, got someone in the room who is using a freelancer or contractor. Awesome. So a lot of variety here. Anybody not know? That might also be valuable from being here, is getting a sense of like, what am I even doing right now? Anybody just not doing marketing at all? You're like, screw it. Cool. Well, that's great. It's awesome to see so many folks employing so many different tactics right now. Wanted to start by talking about how this decision is usually made by founders. Most founders are choosing a freelancer because the budget feels more manageable, right? You're going on Fiverr or Uplink, or you are hitting the Durango Chamber of Commerce or your local Chamber of Commerce to meet someone who works outside of their normal business work hours on marketing. And this is more cost effective, so you're choosing that route. Maybe you got a recommendation from someone to work with a specific agency or an embedded partner. Maybe your advisors have put some pressure on you, or your mentors have put pressure on you, and it feels urgent to act. So you are making a decision to get something done. All of that really, really common. If that is the reason you've made those decisions, it totally makes sense. However, none of them are answers to the right question. And what we hope to do in this session today is kind of help guide you the right questions to ask to make the best decision for your business. The starting question is, what does my company actually need from its marketing? And what structure gives us the best shot at building something that's going to compound over time. The three patterns that we see, we wanted to give some names to. So first is the effort trap. You are putting a ton of work into your marketing and then nothing is coming from it. So you're feeling discouraged. So we call that the effort trap. The reset cycle, you are trying something, it doesn't work, so you try something else. Each transition is costing you time, money. It's taking knowledge away from your internal team. The solutions themselves might not be the problem, but that constant restarting is creating gaps and lag and withdraw from the goals ahead of you. The third that we see a lot is the stage mismatch. So businesses that are growing sometimes don't realize that they need to make a shift when their stage changes. So what works in your pre-seed, founder-led marketing, for example, probably won't work when you are scaling and needing to get more visibility in new audiences, right? So that kind of stage mismatch is something we see a lot when people are coming to us like, I was doing so well, and then things just stopped doing. So all of these speak to not people problems, but process problems or structural problems, right? So like choosing the right model can be a way to fix these issues. So let's go ahead and talk about the 4 common models. The build, hire, embed decision is not primarily about what you can afford. It's really about what kind of system you're building. Each of these structures produces a different kind of output. Some of them are deliverables focused, some are campaigns focused, some are perhaps intelligence focused, like building primal knowledge in your business. Each produce different types of compounding effects in your marketing. So when I say compounding, what I mean is you put in the same effort, but the results are better and better over time, right? Or maybe even less effort, but ultimately the effort that you put down lays a foundation that builds on itself over time and produces better outcomes. So I want to go ahead and walk through all 4 of the models as we see them. And we're going to start with founder-led, which is more often than not where all businesses do start. So when you take the leap, start your own business, more often than not, you are doing your own marketing. So you are putting on the marketing hat and you are getting the word out about your business, whether that's, building print materials. A close friend of ours is starting a local business and he's developing flyers with QR codes and mailers, right, to reach like the local market. That's developing your Facebook channel pages, your LinkedIn pages. It's building maybe a starter website. All things that you can kind of navigate either from past experience or jumping onto YouTube and following tutorials, right? Nothing in marketing is especially gated. There's resources available online to learn how to do things. So a lot of founders start here, and rather than spending money, spend time, right? So this is really the valuable fit when you are figuring out product market fit or you're testing your market viability of your offer, right? So you are trying to collect data from customers, trying to see what the right offer is, what the right fit is, the right way to talk about things by actually doing it. And the more closely you are in that loop, actually, the better that is in the start, right? Like that you're getting the feedback, you're able to easily act upon it quickly. And you're able to ask follow-up questions and really stay super embedded with your customers. Another advantage of founder-led marketing is that you have greater control of the voice. So that authentic founder voice can really shine through. By buyers and investors get very excited about being close to the source of an idea, a business idea. And so that is very controllable with this model. Also being able to act quickly. You don't have any approvals, any reviews, any multiple iterations, unless maybe you're, folding in some brain trust, a partner or something to help get a second set of eyes on things. But ultimately, you can move very, very quickly, which is a huge advantage in the early stages, especially. The problem with this is it does not scale. And probably some of you who are doing founder-led marketing are feeling this. It's like you don't have unlimited time. You're handling a lot in the business, juggling all of the different roles and responsibilities, product development, finances, operations, hiring in some cases, you name it. But your time availability becomes that bottleneck. So it doesn't grow as your business grows. That time limitation always exists. The second model is hiring. So as you are thinking, I just really don't have time. Traditional business approach would be, okay, I need to hire an in-house marketing person, right? I'm going to bring in an individual or maybe a small team of talented individuals to tackle my marketing need for this business and help us grow, help us get the leads that we need, help us get the clout that we need, all that good stuff. Often this can be the right decision after you have product market fit, after you have consistent revenue. So rather than the feast and famine cycles that many earlier stage businesses experience, you kind of know your seasonality, you have predictable income that's consistent. And then also you are ready to integrate different departments. So often the in-house hire is really great once you have a sales team in place or product development team in place, and they could use this extra resource to push out their goals more strongly, get updates about the product out to your customers, get the sales pipelines flowing, sales cycles shortened, all of that good stuff. The great thing about hiring in-house is you'll have this individual or this set of team that has deep institutional knowledge about your business. It's what they do for their full-time job, right? Which is really, really valuable. There's also very quick internal communication. So, compared to a freelancer who might have limited availability, or compared to like an agency where you might have a monthly check-in with them, you're able to just walk across the office to talk to them about needed changes. And the other strength is that consistent brand voice. You have the same butt in the seat. They're collecting all this knowledge and then they're reflecting that over the long period of time and producing this strong voice. Where this is weak or where it fails is if you hire too early. That can be a timing issue where you can't sustain the team size at the stage that you're at. So being really intelligent about the timing for bringing in-house marketing. Perhaps hiring the wrong person, and every business owner who has hired has likely gone through the process of, unfortunately, putting the wrong butt in the seat. If the skills don't match what you need to get done, or if things change and they don't have those skills, then that can be a challenge to, skill them up or skill them into where you need them to be. Another thing, a lot of growth stage companies or category defining companies experience fluctuating market conditions can result in a need to restructure your organization, right? If you're in an industry that is somewhat volatile, we work with a lot of clean tech companies, for example. The policies change a lot around that. That can result in a need to restructure. And then all of the internal knowledge and the strengths of having an in-house team can dissipate overnight. and then you're back at square one, which is a major disappointment and a cost in itself to consider. So there are times when it's right, and there are times when it's probably a little too early or not the right fit. The next model is the traditional agency. So traditional agencies are often larger. They house many, many, many different types of specialists, or even multiple departments of specialties within them. They are often retainer-based in their programs and their offerings. They're really built for defined and clear scope, which you can go in with kind of an undefined scope and they'll help you hone in on. But really that scope is solidified early on, and that is rigid and difficult to shift. But if you really know your scope, it's a great way to avoid hiring in-house, but still get the support that you need. This is also really strong for companies that have internal marketing leadership. So thinking like a VP of marketing or a marketing director or even a CMO that needs hands. Like they want to handle strategy, but they need execution at scale. So that's really where an agency can also shine, is having very strong directional leadership in the marketing realm specifically. What's great about an agency is you can get specialized talent on demand for variety of needs, right? It's like you might start needing print marketing and then decide you need social paid, and usually an agency can absorb that. You can also get production capacity without adding headcount, so you're not losing sleep at night. You're not having the huge overhead of hiring in-house. It's also very good for specific campaigns or projects. So like if you are preparing for a product launch and you need to get the word out to get a ton of, early adoption users, that might be a good example of where an agency would be a great fit, because they have so many specialties and they've probably run hundreds, if not thousands of campaigns in their history. So they can just pick it up, crush it, and then say farewell. And that's exactly what they were needed for. Where an agency might not be the right fit is if you are needing something more custom. If you are doing something that is not a traditional campaign, or if your marketing needs to reach audiences that might be a little bit wigglier to tackle and get to. Agencies often have packages that are quite structured, as I mentioned, and we kind of see that there's a one-size-fits-all mentality with a lot of agencies. So if you need something more custom, it might not be the right fit. Also, a lot of agencies are fairly protective of their processes and systems, and they might even have enterprise tools that are exclusive to their organization. So when that contract ends, your access to that is also rescinded. You lose that access. So when the retainer ends, those systematic and process-based tools or infrastructure, that may also go away, unless that was something that maybe your marketing leadership was replicating in some way in the business. It's pretty rare. Even reports, right? So often with agencies, their analytics reporting becomes inaccessible after your contract ends. We see that a lot, and it's a shame to lose that data, right? So something to consider as well. But it's, again, very, very good if you have clear scope, you have someone with marketing experience and strategic leadership in place, and you just need something crushed quickly in a good way. And the final model that we want to talk about is the embedded partner. This is the model that we've adopted at Psyche Digital. The embedded partner is good for companies that need strategic guidance as well as execution. The way that an embedded partner operates is they come in to your organization and act as your marketing team. So think of it more like fractional marketing team support. They may integrate with your communications tools. They will build dashboards for your analytics. They'll build infrastructure like spreadsheets and documents that live in your organization that you get to keep and build on. And then the team, smaller than a large agency in most cases, but still has specialists in different seats. So you do have some breadth of executional specialty. So I give that context because it's good for companies that might not know exactly what they need right off the bat, or companies who expect to have quite a lot of flux in what they need over the next 12 months, 24 months, and want someone who can flex with them. So we part of the reason that we adopted this embedded model is because we serve startups, and through serving startups, we identified that that was a need that was very valuable. Organizations that are rapidly growing and going through multiple stages of seeking investment, going through changes in messaging quite regularly, can really benefit from having strategy and execution in the same place, getting that expert strategic guidance, having folks that are inside their tools rather than, breaking outside and getting new systems and new processes and new tools that they need to learn. And then also where you need the knowledge to stay in-house, right? And maybe that being something that once you do hire in-house, there's some foundation or framework that can be adopted and improved upon when you do get to that stage to grow and bring people in-house. The weakness here is that there needs to be genuine access and trust. In terms of like founder-led marketing, it can be difficult to trust another person to support on execution, to support on development of voice. That is something that is required for many of these models. In fact, hiring in-house as well as working with an agency, but really important in the case of an embedded team because those individuals are living and breathing in your company more closely. And then also embedded partners typically have a more narrow area of specialty. So for example, Psyche Digital, we are focused on organic marketing. We don't touch paid advertising. We have partners that we refer to. And that's by the nature of our team being condensed and focused and us having certain types of clients that we serve over and over and over again. Like what is actually needed is something that we have honed in on and gotten really, really good at. Whereas a big agency might have more butts and more seats doing more variety of things for a wider variety of types of clients, right? So that's another downside. If you're needing someone that can do everything, then maybe the embedded partner is not the right fit. So quick overview of the 4 models. So just to run over all of this, founder-led is best for early testing, pre-product market fit. And with that, just watching out that it's not going to scale as well as your company grows. Hiring in-house is good for post-product market fit and integrated teams. It's not great if you are doing it too early or if the person you're hiring doesn't have the right skill set for your company. The agency is great when you have a really clear scope and specific projects, and you would want to be careful if if you need that knowledge to be maintained inside of your business in perpetuity, because that knowledge often will leave after they're done. And the embedded is really good for growth stage with a lot of fluctuations, a need for flexibility, and going through transition phases. And then you want to watch out for any hesitation to let go of some of those functions in the business and provide that genuine access and trust. So those are the 4 models in a nutshell. And then Kate is going to talk about how to self-identify which one might be right for you.
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey. So basically what we're going to do now is give you something that you can actually use to help decide what model of support makes sense for you and your company. This is basically a diagnostic 5 questions that we go and we ask founders when they come to us. The thing to keep in mind here is that there's no right answer in the abstract. The answers to this, they live in your specific company at your specific stage right now, what you're going through. And so what we want you to do is kind of work through these in your head as we go through them. If there's one that's like really hard for you to answer, that difficulty itself is a diagnostic. It's telling you that there's something there that you need to pay attention to. So keep that in mind. So we're going to start with question 1. This is the foundation. Where does your marketing strategy live? Before you can evaluate any structure, you need to know where your strategy currently lives. If it lives only in a founder's head, that's not inherently wrong at an early stage, especially, but it means that any external partner, any hire, a freelancer, they're going to have to spend a significant amount of time extracting information rather than executing on that work. If it lives in a document that no one reads, that's a completely different problem. If the strategy exists, but it's not being operationalized, that's a different problem. The answer to this question really tells you how much foundational work is going to need to happen before the structure choice even really matters for you and your company. Okay, question 2. What is marketing supposed to do for you in the next 12 months? This is about what job is to be done. And this one trips up a lot of founders because the answer changes a lot as the company evolves. It can change every quarter, it can change every 6 months. Hopefully, if you have a good strategy, it's not changing that often. But if the goal is to support a raise, a funding raise, you need marketing that speaks to investors. That's really different from marketing that fills in a sales pipeline. If the goal is to enter a new market, you need someone with enough strategic fluency to help define that category. And that's really different than executing a content calendar. A freelancer could do that. Probably couldn't come up with your whole marketing strategy. The answer to this question has really direct implications for which model is even viable for your business. A freelancer can execute, they can't own strategy. An embedded partner can do both. An agency may do neither, depending on what their abilities are. It all depends on the scope, and it depends on what you need at that time. Question 3, how much founder time can you genuinely go toward marketing? You have to be really, really honest with this question. Again, it can't be abstract. You need to look at your calendar and give a realistic answer for how much time you can commit. This can't be an aspirational answer. That will cause you a lot of problems. A founder who is running sales, they're managing a team, they're talking to investors, they're handling customer escalations, they do not have 8 hours a week to spend on their marketing, regardless of how important it is. If the honest answer is, I have maybe 2 hours a week, then any model that requires that significant founder involvement to function is going to underperform. It's not because the founder doesn't have willpower, there's just literally not enough time in the day. I think a lot of the founders that we talk to come against this. They just don't have time to do their marketing. The answer to this question tells you how self-sufficient your marketing function needs to be, and that has really direct implications for your model choice. If you have less time, I would look towards an agency or an embedded model more than a freelancer or founder-led marketing, because there's just not enough time to execute. Okay, question 4 is about looking back. Question 4 is retrospective, and it's often a really, really clarifying question. What has already broken? Most founders in this room have already tried at least one model. Something stopped working, and before you look at choosing the next thing, it's worth trying to accurately name why it didn't work before. If you have a talent problem, maybe the person or the team wasn't strong enough to execute the strategy. If you have a strategy problem, maybe there was no clear direction for execution to follow. Maybe it's a bandwidth problem. The model required more founder time than was actually available. Maybe it's a structure problem. You had the wrong model for the wrong stage. The distinction matters here because the fix is different in each case. Hiring better talent doesn't fix a structure problem. Adding more strategy doesn't fix a bandwidth problem. If you haven't diagnosed what broke before, you're probably going to replicate the same mistake with a different vendor. So definitely take a look at where your marketing failed in the past so that we can avoid what happens in the future. Okay, question 4. What does compounding look like for your company? This is basically what does success look like. If I'm looking at a year from now, what is success for my company? That is this question. So compounding in marketing isn't just about words are hard, content that builds over time. That's of course part of it, but it's about building institutional knowledge. It's about a team, or internal or external, that really knows your company deeply enough that every decision is faster and better than the last one. If you can articulate what compounding looks like for your company, you can hold up any marketing structure and ask, does this build toward that? Does this make that more or less achievable? Again, it's really important to know where you're trying to go before you try to build a system to get there. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I do want to just pause for a second. Did any of those questions kind of resonate for you? Were there any of those questions that stumped you? Any thoughts there before we move into looking at a company that went through all of these different structures? You can put it in the chat. You can come off mute. Okay, I'm going to move forward, but I will make you ask questions later. Think really hard about that. So we're about to walk through a company that we've worked with for a long time that actually has gone through every single one of these models in the life of their company. Keeping names back, we're allowed to share the story, but not going to share the company specifically. So basically, the reason I want to talk about this specific company is it illustrates almost every model transition we've talked about. And because it shows something really important here, it's not about a permanent structure. It's not like you're going to make this choice once. This is a choice that's going to come up for you over and over and over again as your company evolves. What's right for you now may not be right for you in a year. It may not be right for you in 6 months. You've got to be aware of the evolution your company is going through. So we originally came in for this company as a part-time contractor to do a website redesign. They had done a do-it-yourself website originally. I guess there's a previous phase. They did founder-led marketing. They made their own website. But where we entered into the story is we came in as a contractor for a redesign. There was very clean, bounded project. We knew exactly the scope. We were just a project-based contractor with a really defined deliverable. Moving into phase 2, we had built a relationship with this company. They found that they needed ongoing marketing support in the form of social media, some blogs. This really shifted us into kind of a standard agency model. We provided regular deliverables on a regular schedule with metrics and tracking. That's something that you should be getting from any standard agency model. We had a regular meeting cadence. This was different than the embedded model because we did not own the full scope of their marketing strategy. We were not embedded into the company communication systems. Our cadence was we were meeting with them once every other week. As things came up, it wasn't as embedded. From there, we helped them grow to a point where it was time for them to hire an in-house marketing team. This is awesome. We celebrate this every time this happens for our clients. It was the right decision for where they were. They brought in a VP of marketing, someone who was good at search engine optimization and content creation, and someone who had kind of more of a graphic eye to help them with a graphic evolution. During that time, we didn't disappear. This in-house team came on. We scaled back what we were doing. We helped with some minor content support, some execution on the back end of their website because we built it. But their internal team really took over. They found their footing, and we were not the main marketing arm for them at that point. That was great. That's a really healthy handoff. We love that. Then phase 4 hit. There were some big changes in their industry. The company had to go through a restructure. The internal marketing team left. Especially with growth stage companies, startups that are finding their footing in the market. This happens a lot. I wouldn't consider it a failure. It was a smart business decision to support the future of their company. At that point, the founder stepped in, tried to lead some of the marketing for a while, and used us on a project basis for a little bit. The important thing, what was really cool about this, is that institutional knowledge never left the company. Even though they hired an internal team and then they scaled it down, we were a common thread through this whole marketing timeline. And so that institutional knowledge, the history, the brand tone, all of those things, they never left. So phase 5, which is where we still are with this company today and have been for the last 2 years, we stepped back in as their full marketing arm. So this is when we really became that embedded marketing wing. We did full scope. We built a second website redesign for them because they had grown to a point where they needed that. We handled all of their ongoing activities. Again, we're still here today. This arc is really important because it illustrates several things. First of all, the company didn't fail at marketing. They made reasonable decisions at each stage based on where they were. The model changed because the company changed. What made it work across all 5 phases is that knowledge never fully left. When we stepped back in, we weren't starting over, we were continuing. We knew the brand, we knew the audience, the competitive landscape, all of the internal dynamics, and every decision was faster because of that foundation. The internal team that was there and then left, they left great bones for the work that they had done, and that knowledge transfer was really smart. That is how you build a compounding marketing system, not just in content, but in the people that are doing the work and knowing the company really well. They know it well enough to make every call faster and better than the last one. That's something that's really built over time and over that long-term relationship, and is really important. Okay, so I do want to talk about the elephant in the room of all of this. How does AI affect everything that is happening? We do want to spend a few minutes on AI because it is this variable that's changing very fast, and it's one that we get questions about all the time. The questions founders are asking us, or the question that founder is asking us, is, does AI mean I need less external support? Can I just use AI tools to run all the functions of my marketing? The answer is AI changes things, but it does not eliminate the need for structure. And that's why this is kind of a sub part of this presentation instead of a main model. So let's set the foundation with, what does AI do well? So AI adds value in certain areas of marketing. AI compresses execution time on tasks that are defined and repeatable. If you know what you want to say and who you're saying it to, AI can help you say it faster and in more formats. For a founder-led model, this is very meaningful. It extends what one person can produce. A founder who maybe couldn't keep up with a content calendar before might be able to now for a while. At some point, they're still going to become that bottleneck, but for now, AI can help with the drafting and the reformatting and increase that time that a founder can stay on top of it. For an agency or an embedded team, it means more output without more headcount. So For example, we use AI tools in our own work at Psyche Digital. They make us faster on execution, but it doesn't replace strategic judgment. So this is the part that gets lost in the AI conversation. AI produces volume. It does not produce direction. It can help you write 10 versions of a LinkedIn post. It cannot tell you what your positioning should be or whether this is the right moment to be publishing thought leadership versus going quiet and refining your message. Those calls require deep understanding of the company, the customer, competitive context, like what the strategic moment is. That's all judgment, and AI doesn't really have that yet. I don't know, maybe someday it will, but right now it doesn't really have that. So when founders ask, can we just use AI for marketing? The answer is AI can do more of the execution, but it amplifies whatever strategic foundation already exists. If a foundation is strong, AI makes a great marketing function faster. If the foundation is weak, AI makes a confused marketing function louder. So volume without direction isn't marketing function, it's noise, and noise is expensive to produce and impossible to compound. So the right way to think about AI. Here's how we frame this use when our clients ask about AI. So AI is a force multiplier. It accelerates what's already there, which means the strategic decisions, what model, what structure, what direction, matter more in an AI environment, not less. If you have a clear strategy and a strong brand and a marketing function that knows what it's building towards, AI can make all of that faster and more scalable. If you don't have those things yet, AI gives you a way to produce a lot of output quickly that goes nowhere. So that's not really an advantage. That's just distraction. That's when you're seeing that AI slop pop up everywhere. It's things that reek of machine breath. It's things that do not sound authentic to the company. So our recommendation is always build structure first, and then use AI to accelerate that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap some things up here, and then we're going to move on to Q&A. Bringing it all together, 5 things that I want you to take away from this webinar. 1, structure matters as much as talent. If you are picking the wrong model of support, good people can't fix it. 2, use that diagnostic, use those questions that we gave you today. You don't have to solve them today, but you do need to ask those 5 questions with honesty, and that's going to help you support that decision on what level of support you need. 3, none of these models is universally right. The right answer is the right answer for your stage, your team, and what your marketing function needs to produce right now. 4, AI makes a good structure faster. It makes a bad structure louder. Build that foundation before you add an accelerant to it. 5, this is not a one-time decision. The model that fits a seed stage company may not fit a Series A company. The right move is to build a structure with the flexibility so that you can evolve and pick a new structure when you need to. You want to have that clarity to know when it's time to shift. Okay, so with that, if you are having challenges understanding what model is right for you, you can always book time on our calendars for a free Ignite call. In those calls, we generally dive into what structure makes sense for you, what gaps are slowing your growth, all of those kinds of things. Feel free to scan that QR code. That will give you time directly on my calendar anytime, and I'm always happy to chat about these things. With that, we are going to open up the floor for any questions that might be sitting in your brains. Feel free to come off mute. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll monitor that as well. So what questions do you guys have for us in these last 12 minutes?
Or observations or stories.
That too.
Everyone's in this room for some reason related to the topic at hand. So for some relatability, Kate and I are actually doing founder-led marketing. for Psyche Digital.
We sure are. Amanda, you said in the chat that you learned a lot, but you're a bit overwhelmed. What is feeling overwhelming?
I'm just going to come off mute. I'm faster talker than typer.
Yeah,
we
love
love
to hear your
It's so good
voice.
to see you and hear you. I'm sorry, I'm not camera ready.
Hi.
This was great information, as you all know, or they know. We got to meet a couple months ago and on site, but I don't come from a marketing background, so this was really helpful because, like, from a strategy perspective, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but
Amanda, you gotta say what you do, by the way. You gotta plug yourself here.
Oh, thank you for the tip. No, so I specialize in large-scale learning development, global rollouts for organizations and training and development. So that's kind of my background. But when I, for the business, so we usually deal with like Fortune 500 companies across the world. And we did recently develop a package actually for more small business owner entrepreneurs where we take like all the great skills that we have for Fortune 500 clients of creating training and development for them and creating like a smaller package for more like subject matter experts. So you all need a course, so we'll talk afterwards, but to exchange for fun. But the marketing, like because I don't come from marketing world, so like this information is like foundational. I didn't know any of this. So thank you so much for that foundational thing. I'm doing, I think, a little bit of founder, but definitely not like it's your first question, where does it live? I'm like, it doesn't. That was my answer on my journal. It doesn't. And maybe in my head. So definitely beginning stages for me, and for other people on the call are further along than I am. But thank you. This was a really strong foundational and really helpful information.
Well, and I will say one thing about founder-led marketing, like you're saying, I don't know where it lives, like it lives in your head for sure. Anytime you're like going to a conference or making a personal connection, that is a form of marketing. It's not a super scalable form of marketing, right, but it's absolutely a form of marketing. So it's living in your head.
Part that you put in my head was, and I'm all about strategy, but I do strategy in different capacity, but that you have to have a strategy. And right now I have a non-strategy, just throwing things out there. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that. You can tell us all about having a course. We could talk to you about strategy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Any other questions?
Cool.
Okay, well, we will give you guys that gift of time, which I know is always appreciated. We so appreciate all of you joining us. Again, don't hesitate to book a call on our calendar if you want to talk about this one-on-one. If the group forum isn't your format for asking questions, that's great. We're always happy to talk one-on-one. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful Wednesday, team. Bye-bye.